Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, where we help you make the wisest and most profitable decisions. And today, we'll talk about the wisest and most profitable decisions about the new bivalent boosters, and how executives really need to promote these newly updated booster shots, because that's an opportunity for leaders to persuade employees to actually make good decisions, and they should advocate for this cause publicly to help the businesses improve their bottom line, and we'll talk about why, and protect them because they protect employees against the new Omicron subvariants ahead of a surge which we are already experiencing this winter, and we might experience a worse surge, and also serious complications that research is showing are associated with long COVID. So let's talk about that. Why promoting the new booster shots is actually good for companies, good for leaders. It will decrease employee sick days, so less sick days. It will reduce super spreader events from COVID, from employees who come to the office and have various problems. And it helps minimize the PR problems that are associated with such activities, the super spreader events. Also, my focus right now, I'm helping 12 companies already return to the office, figure out their future of work arrangements, and we're seeing that employees are afraid of returning to the office because of COVID. So promoting the Omicron-specific bivalent boosters helps reduce employee fears, and it improves employee trust in the leadership to do so. And finally, it serves the interest of all stakeholders, not simply within the company, but outside the company as well, as part of stakeholder capitalism. Now, let's talk about the new booster shots. We know the research shows they're very effective. They're effective against Omicron and the original COVID strain alike, so both strains. That's why they're called bivalent. They're safe and they're more effective than the previous vaccines overall. Now, getting the bivalent booster is for everyone who's 12 years and older. They're widely available. The US federal government purchased them for everyone. They're affordable, therefore, so you can get them for free. So no cost. And this is a good time to get the bivalent booster. There's no bad time. So according to Rochelle Walensky, who is the director of the CDC, there is no bad time to get your COVID-19 booster shot, and she strongly encourages everyone to receive it. Unfortunately, there are some challenges with getting people to accept the COVID booster shots because people have some vaccine hesitancy, still experiencing that, and they don't know about these vaccine bivalent boosters, their benefits. So we see from studies that there's a low intent to get the shot. Half of all respondents heard a lot or some about the new booster, so half didn't even hear some. Less than a third intend to get the new booster, according to a Kaiser Family Foundation COVID vaccine monitor study. 65% of Americans believe that it's a good time to return to normal, that it's safe. And that's not a good idea, despite there's serious risk in contracting the virus, so which can cause a lot of problems. And according to an Ipsos poll, some people are afraid of it, but most people believe that going back to normal is completely safe. Not a good idea. The updated boosters can truly be a game changer because we can see, as we're saying already this winter, and we can see more of a COVID winter surge. There are new variants like the XBB 1.5 that are coming up that could more than quadruple the current infection rate, according to projections from the University of Washington. So new booster that we have right now offers the best possible protection against infection from a projected COVID wave. Another problem that we're having, it's not only the new variants, but also that the old vaccines, their effectiveness is waning. So that's a serious problem that we need to deal with. The original vaccine's effectiveness wanes after 4 months, according to a CDC study. So effectiveness against hospitalization decreases. So from 71% right after you get the shot to 58% after 4 months. So it's a significant decrease. And it continues to fall off after that. So this suggests the need for additional boosters to restore the protection that wanes from the original vaccines. Now, we know that the boosters restore the effectiveness. An extra dose continues to protect against hospitalization. So according to a CDC study, those who received the original 2 doses and then a booster of the original one got immediate protection of 91% against hospitalization, which falls to 78% after 4 months. So it's still better than the immediate protection offered just by the 2 shots of the original vaccine. And of course, that's even better with the new bivalent booster. Now, the new booster shots are especially valuable for staff who are at higher risks of serious symptoms from COVID-19, which of course tends to be people who are older, the most experienced ones, the senior staff, as well as immunocompromised workers. So new boosters can reduce their vulnerability. Another issue that we wanted to address is long COVID. So 1 in 13 adults in the US have long COVID symptoms, according to a CDC study. 23% of those who are infected with COVID are likely to get long COVID symptoms, according to a study from the University of Southern California. And long COVID, it's another serious reason to get booster shots, because you get fatigue, you get brain fog, which can last weeks, months, or longer. I got COVID and it took me a weekish or so to get over it, but my wife got COVID and it took her over a month to get over COVID. So and we had the bivalent boosters. Imagine how bad it would be if we didn't have the bivalent boosters. There's also other risks like sudden heart failure or stroke, including in healthy young people. It's a serious issue. New boosters can reduce the likelihood of developing long COVID. Now, businesses can face a lot of talent challenges with workers because of long COVID. It's worsening the labor shortage. 22% of those who had long COVID were unable to work. Another 45% needed reduced hours, according to a study in The Lancet. So that's a serious blow to companies. Overall, 2 to 4 million are out of work due to long COVID in the US, according to a report from the Brookings Institution. That's a serious number. Unfortunately, employers are not doing nearly enough to promote the new booster shots, despite the problems from the COVID winter surge for their staff. So we've seen examples of recent COVID outbreaks at major employers that mandated returns to the office like Google, CalPERS, and so on. And so leaders, by failing to take action, are falling into what's called the mission bias, which is a cognitive bias that reduces the perception that not taking an action is not problematic. So they're reducing the perception of the problematic nature of an action. You're downplaying the costs of an action, that you're not taking the action to promote the boosters, whereas it's actually a serious issue to not take the action that's needed. Some leaders are actually going in the opposite direction. Rather than encouraging COVID mitigation, they're rolling back vaccine mandates because they want staff back in the office, like Goldman Sachs. That's a very bad idea. So let's talk about the benefits of promoting the new boosters. Number 1 is reducing sick days. Workers are less likely to take sick leave, reduce working hours, and withdraw from the labor force. Then, avoiding bad publicity. You'll minimize the PR fiascos, you'll minimize COVID outbreaks, and even if you do have COVID outbreaks and bad PR, my clients, and I helped a number of clients transition to hybrid work, they're finding that if they do promote the new bivalent boosters, that reduces the negative publicity associated with the COVID outbreaks, because they can say, well, we did everything we could. Then, you're addressing return to office resistance. So employees fear returning to the office. According to an Ipsos survey, 57% were worried about COVID in the office. And so my firm, Disaster Avoidance Experts, surveyed a Fortune 500 SaaS company, which found that 64% of employees were concerned about COVID in the office. So promoting the new boosters, we found in that survey, reduced employee fears. And so they are less likely to resist returning to the office. Next, stakeholder capitalism. So serving the interests of all stakeholders, that's called stakeholder capitalism. And according to the Business Roundtable statement of top CEOs, this defines a new purpose of companies, including supporting the communities in which they work, taking into account the needs of all stakeholders, and thus reducing COVID serves these broader community health concerns. And finally, you're earning employee trust. So people trust businesses more than the government. So Edelman's trust barometer shows that 86% of respondents expect CEOs to speak out on public issues like pandemic impact. And these expectations require leaders to be trustworthy, exemplars. So by advocating for new boosters, they can do so. Now, let's talk about behavioral science approaches to promote the new boosters. As COVID is transitioning to the endemic phase, mandates are really not the right way to go. You're seeing some mandates, that's not what I'm talking about. The effective approaches So the effective approach is to increasing booster uptake. You want to create appropriate norms, ones that would help encourage all employees to actually get boosters. And you want to have some interventions that are informed by nudges, so small decision-making influences to help employees make the right decisions. Now, let's talk about the norms. What does it mean to create appropriate norms? That means that you need to lead by example. So leaders need to lead by example. Whether they lead a whole organization or a team, you want to lead by example. Publicly advocate the cause, publicly advocate boosters. Of course, get the shot yourself, be a model. So be a role model in both speaking about it and taking the actions themselves. So doing the actual, getting a booster shot publicly. So get it yourself filmed, photographed, doing so. I'll give you an example of my client who educated employees about the benefits of bivalent boosters through a newsletter, showing the CEO herself getting the jab, getting the booster. So a photograph and a description from the CEO of a statement about her experience getting the booster, and encouraging discussions on boosters among teams. So encouraging people to leaders, lower level leaders, rank in the middle and lower level managers to discuss getting the bivalent booster. Also, she invited an epidemiologist to give a talk to address staff concerns about getting the booster. What about nudging? Nudging employees to get the shot. Let's talk about that same client, what they did. So nudged employees by offering paid time off to get the shot. So reducing barriers by offering paid time off, giving a sick leave for side effects. So if you have side effects, you can get sick leave. That's not a problem at all. And then a prize, an actual prize of a paid weekend getaway. So you have an inter-team competition, so competition-based prize for the first 3 teams to have their members get the shots. They get a paid weekend getaway, and also a lottery for the first 5 employees to get the shots. So getting the boosters within the first 3 months of it becoming available, there was a lottery for that. So you have both a team-based, competition-based approach where teams compete against each other for all team members to get the booster. And you have a lottery for individuals where individuals can be empowered to get the booster themselves. So that's a very good approach because it combined everything and hit everyone. And so that's what I want to share about how business leaders need to promote getting the new booster shots. I hope you found this episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show valuable to you. Please make sure to subscribe wherever you checked out this podcast and make sure to leave a review. It really helps us improve the show and it helps other people discover the show. And there is going to be much more information about the bivalent booster in the show notes, so check those out. And please send me an email. My name is Dr. Gleb Tsipursky, and my email is gleb@disasteravoidanceexperts.com. So Disaster Avoidance Experts is the future of work consultancy that sponsors the Wise Decision Maker Show, and my email there is gleb@disasteravoidanceexperts.com. I read every email that I get. All right, everyone. I hope you've benefited from this episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next episode of the Wise Decision Maker Show. In the meantime, the wisest and most profitable decisions to you, my friends.